Thank you so much for tuning into the show, and welcome to Season 2 of the Audiobook Club with John York. The Audiobook Club, partnered with Pro Audio Voices, celebrates audiobooks, the amazing people and teams who make them happen, as well as the various talents behind storytelling. To learn more about Amplify and other opportunities to grow your sales, platform, and audience, head over to proaudiovoices.com and listen out for a short but informational advertisement within this episode. Let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the Audiobook Club. In this week's episode, we're so lucky to be joined by the founder, CEO, and Empress of Audiobook Empire, Jess Herring. Jess, it's such a joy to have you on the show. How are you today?
I'm great, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on and taking the time. I really appreciate it. I'd love to begin by asking if you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you first began working in the audiobook industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I took sort of an unconventional path here. I know a lot of production companies in the industry are run by narrators. Let me get this out of the way and say I am not a narrator, if you can't tell by my voice, because I get that question a lot. I actually started out as an audiobook blogger. Well, first, I guess,
Oh, nice.
started as a listener and then a reviewer, like on Goodreads or wherever. And then I started the Audiobook Worm, uh,
Yeah.
an audiobook review blog, because no one in my real life, no one in my family listens to audiobooks. And I had all of these opinions and, I wanted to share them. So I started a blog. And then that led to, an audiobook promotional company that I ran until late last year, from 2016 to late 2022.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then from there, the empire. I was noticing with my promotional work a lot of missteps
Mm.
and misinformation about the audiobook production process
Mhm.
was happening. And but by the time those authors got to me, it was at the end of the process, because we were promoting and the audiobook was already produced.
Yeah.
And what can you do? So after several years of doing that, I decided that uh, it would be more helpful to these people if I got involved in the process earlier. And a good friend of mine, author Terry Maggart, for years had sort of been not really hounding, but um, consistently nudging me about, actually producing instead of just
Yeah.
promoting. And I kept saying, no, 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 I don't, that's too much work. I wouldn't know the
Yeah.
first thing about it, blah, blah, blah. Um, and then that idea just kind of stuck in the back of my head and it sat there for a couple of years. And um, then I really started wondering, what if?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I decided to take the first steps into the production world.
That's fantastic. Audiobook Empire. I'm sure there are, will be narrators and audiobook folks listening who, who have already, familiar with Audiobook Empire, as most of them will be. But just in case there are a few who aren't familiar, could you share with us exactly what the Audiobook Empire is and does?
Absolutely. So we are an independent audiobook production house,
Mm-hmm.
production and publishing now. And we currently cater to independent authors or self-published authors. That was, the primary group that I worked with as a promotional specialist. And in my opinion, they are the group that could most benefit from my services,
Yeah.
from having someone help you navigate the world of self-publication and the audiobook
Yeah.
production process and that sort of thing. So that is the Empire's ideal client, I suppose. We
Yeah.
work a lot with first time audio authors, authors who are new to audiobooks and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We produce all genres. a lot of people, and I can understand where this assumption comes from, but a lot of people assume that we specialize in fantasy, or maybe science fiction fantasy, I guess
Yeah.
because of, the castle and the whole empire thing. But
Yeah.
um, no, we don't like to limit ourselves, so we'll take on any genre. The only thing that really matters is that it's a good book.
Yeah.
We don't care about the genre as long as it's high quality.
Yeah. I was going to ask, well, you mentioned, running a blog and being an avid listener for years of audiobooks. So this may not be the case, but just in case it is, I will ask anyway. Has working in audiobooks and in this space, doing this with Audiobook Empire, does that expose you to maybe genres of books that you perhaps wouldn't have picked up previously as a listener, but then thought, hang on a second, I'm loving this. Like, I would have never picked this up if it was just for me, but then being open, being exposed to it through working with the author and, on that production. Have you found yourself, having those feelings, as it were?
Absolutely. I mean, for years, I thought that I didn't care for, personally for
Yeah.
nonfiction. And then, through producing some nonfiction, I've come to realize that you can't really just write off whole genres as a
Mm.
listener, until you really, don't knock it till you try it, that whole
Yeah.
sort of thing. It really does just come down to the book, and that's why we, take on projects on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, it really just depends on the quality of the thing itself and not the label.
Yeah. Audiobook Empire also offers consultation and guidance for independent authors. Could you tell us a little more about these services and what they include?
Sure. Yeah. So the consultation is kind of almost like a try it before you buy it, which, I'm, as a consumer, a big fan of.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, we work with a lot of authors who, have never made a foray into the audiobook world before.
Yeah.
Actually, a surprising number of them have never even heard an audiobook.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's basically just a sit down, usually like a 30-minute sit down with me over Zoom. And I break down the process for them, give them an overview from tip to tail of the whole, we're a full service
Mm.
production house. So I give them an overview of the entire process, from casting to promotion. And then, as well, if they want to produce with us,
Mm.
which, normally they do. We have a pretty good track record. I think I'm a pretty good closer. If they want to produce with us, then we really dive into each of those stages
Yeah.
as we go along and actually, go through each stage. And yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
pretty much what it is. Just a lot of education and guidance and hand holding. That's my
Yeah.
specialty.
For those, if someone came to you and they'd never listened to an audiobook before and they were looking for a recommendation of where to begin, do any audiobooks that you've enjoyed that you see as a good place to start for someone who's never heard of one before?
No, I don't think I can make a blanket recommendation like that. I think I would start by asking them, well, what do you like to watch on TV?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
a big fan of The Walking Dead and The Last of Us, then I would probably recommend horror or something post-apocalyptic. I'm in a position where I've heard enough across a bevy of genres,
Yeah.
that I can probably recommend at least one or two titles from anywhere on that spectrum.
You see, you're a lot nicer than I am, because if someone asked me that, I'd just say one of mine.
Oh, well, yeah, normally, and I can, I've been known to offer promo codes to
Yeah.
friends, or in exchange for a review, of course. But
Yeah. Yeah.
to get people started, well, here, like it's like when you go to like a Sam's Club or a Costco, and it's sample day, and you just kind of walk around, kind of picking at the little things they have to offer and see what hits your taste buds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are also upcoming workshops and events hosted by the Empire. Could you share with us a little more info about what these events kind of look like, and what people could expect when signing up or registering?
Yeah, absolutely. So the workshops actually started with our now somewhat infamous cold calling workshop. I am a big advocate of narrators doing author outreach.
Yeah,
I think that's how a lot of narrators have heard of the Empire, is because of that, because we um, actively encourage narrators to, well, take an active role in, driving the direction of their career, instead of
yeah,
just waiting to see what you're handed or what comes along your way.
yeah,
Start browsing, start window shopping. If you see something that you feel you would be really perfect for, go after it. I mean,
yeah,
what's the worst that can happen? Somebody says no. Okay, well then you're not any worse off than you were before. So um I was getting a lot of questions from narrators about how to do author outreach. So in true fashion for me, I put together a document, step by step. Well, here's how I would do it, and
yeah,
that sort of thing. And then so many people were interested in that I decided to put together a little Zoom call where I could actually, verbally explain each of the steps and take questions and that sort of thing.
mm,
And then that was so popular that we started doing it regularly towards the end of last year. And then for 2023, we are scheduling a cold calling workshop about once a quarter. And we have other topics that we're doing workshops on now. I think in November of 2022, that was the first time we branched out with a new topic. And
mm,
the woman, the narrator who runs I'm sorry, Cat's Meow Productions, our Clean Reads imprint, is a branding and marketing specialist in addition to being a narrator. So she actually took that workshop and shared her expertise with the attendants. And then for 2023, we decided, hey, let's increase the menu. I polled some of our Legionnaires, our narrators, in our little private Talent Legion Facebook group, and just asked what topics are on your mind. What
mm,
where do you need? What areas do you feel you could improve in some more, and that sort of thing. And I took the half dozen most requested topics and turned those into workshops with guest speakers. Sometimes it's just me if it's something I feel I'm particularly, qualified to speak on.
mm,
And sometimes I just pull in a friend who, I'm fortunate enough to be. I mean, I think I'm fairly well connected in all corners of the
yeah,
industry, and I've been very lucky that, yeah, everyone I've asked to pitch in on one of these has accepted
yeah,
eagerly, so enthusiastically.
yeah,
Actually, we have um, a workshop coming up on March 18th.
mm,
So, yeah, if this is airing on the 17th, it's tomorrow night, and y'all can go to the website to RSVP, and you'll be sent the Zoom link for that. But it's on royalty shares, investing in yourself, how to choose royalty share projects that are less of a gamble, I
yeah,
suppose. Um, so you can have a better chance at getting a return on your investment, because that's exactly what it is.
yeah.
When you're investing time in something, you're investing your money.
Well, what I'll make sure to do is post the link for that workshop and make sure it's front and center in the show notes so that our listeners can see and access that and go check it out. First of all, so you mentioned being well connected, and I know that we have a mutual friend, of RJ Bailey, a terrific narrator who's been on the show many times before. I wondered if you could sort of tell us how you and RJ came to be aware of each other.
Yeah, yeah. I think that Rob and I are close enough that maybe he won't get upset with me for sharing this, but um, several months ago when he first applied to be part of our talent legion, he filled out his entire application in like medieval speech. And I got it and was immediately like, as I was reading it, I was immediately thrilled by it because
Yeah.
like I love our theme. I think it's fun. Some people don't like it, but you know what? Those aren't our people.
Yeah.
There are plenty other companies out there that can cater to those people. We like people that, have a sense of fun and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we, take what we do any less seriously, but I mean, if you can have fun working, why wouldn't you?
Of course. Yeah.
Um, so I loved that Rob took that angle with his application. But the funny thing was, apparently, as soon as he submitted his application, he had this moment of terror where he thought, "Oh no, what have I done? This is a professional situation. What have I done?" So he immediately messaged the Empire's Instagram account, apologizing profusely for it. And luckily, I saw it right away and was like, "Dude, no, like you're in." I loved that. Are you kidding me? I want to work with you because I want to work with people who, are passionate not only about what they do and making
Mm.
audiobooks, but who want to, have fun along the way. I was drawn to audiobooks out of love, not out of any sense of, oh, I wonder if I could somehow make money doing this.
Mm.
Um, and I keep that perspective with me throughout whatever I do. The consumer aspect of it, the listener aspect. So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
Empire is meant to be fun. And Rob tapped into that perfectly.
Yeah.
And we yeah, it's just a funny way that we became friends. We hit it off right away.
That's so funny. Rob's the best.
Yeah, yes.
I
And we've
saw,
done
yeah,
several projects together, several series.
yeah.
So he, in fact, did not blow it.
Well, that's good. I'm so pleased to hear that. And yeah, that's really funny. I also saw that there was a last year there was a Dungeons and Dragons game as part of the events. How did that come about?
That came about from, and you're going to notice a theme here. That came about from me getting super into it in real life, and then thinking, how can I work this into, the Empire? How can I work it
Yeah,
into my work life? Because I mean, I spend most of my time with the Empire and with, the Legion and work people in a work environment and that sort of thing. So my social life bleeds into that pretty heavily. Um, I mean, I've met a lot of cool people with it,
mm,
and we started talking about D&D. I was telling them that I just started playing, and I was really surprised by the amount of narrators in our circle who also played.
mm,
And I thought, well, wouldn't it be neat, and in keeping with the theme, right? I love a theme.
yeah,
I thought it would be perfect to somehow incorporate it into the Empire. And I found out that Hannah, the professional, insert explanation here. I don't know what all the
yeah.
letters
My
stand for,
mind's
but the
gone.
professional
Yeah,
narrator.
sorry, go. On.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Professional Narrators Association. We have a lot of friends within that organization, and I found out that they were in the process of putting together a game of their own, but that was still a ways off. And I'm the kind of person, when I'm enthusiastic or when I'm eager about something or excited about something, I want to act on it right
yeah,
now. So I thought, okay, well, maybe we could put together a game or a couple of games in the meantime. And we actually had some listeners and some authors who wanted to play, and a lot of narrators. So we just, yeah, I threw names in a spreadsheet, coordinated everyone's schedules, which was easier said than done.
yeah,
And yeah, we found, as soon as we found DMs, it was a piece of cake.
yeah,
But now actually, Hannah's D&D game is going. I believe they play, John, you may have to check up on this for me. I believe
Hmm.
they play on Wednesday evenings. And they play live on YouTube, which is really cool. I don't know if you've seen them.
I haven't actually.
Um,
That does sound really cool.
yeah, we are the official sponsor of their game.
Oh,
And they're
fantastic.
doing it in like, oh my gosh, just such an amazing way. If you've ever seen, oh, what's the name of Matt Mercer's D&D show? Critical Role, I think. Is that it?
I'm not sure.
Maybe. I think it's Critical Role.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's very similar to that because these are all professional actors. I don't think Panos is scripted or anything like that, but it's just so much fun
Yeah.
because I'm coming from the real world playing with regular people, who are not professional actors and that sort of thing. And then to watch how they do it with the voices and the improv. And I mean, a lot of narrators have acting
Yeah. Yeah.
experience, theater experience, and that sort of thing. So it's a completely different experience. It's next level, and they're all doing amazingly.
It's such a fun idea. Such a good idea. What can narrators do or stop doing that makes your life easier at the Empire?
Well, that actually brings up a really good point. So the first thing that comes to mind is um, tell your indie authors about us.
Yeah.
Because the Empire didn't wasn't founded with this in mind necessarily, but I like for my ideas to be given room to grow, and I always like to leave room for what someone else can bring to it. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's sort of the Empire sort of turned into this hub where narrators can bring their authors to me, kind of drop them off. Like, I don't mean this to sound patronizing or anything, but kind of drop them off with me, like dropping a child off at daycare,
Yeah.
knowing that they're going to be taken care of, and then you can get back to work, right? So, um, our philosophy is that narrators just want to narrate. We are big advocates of specialties. Uh, Obviously, a narrator's specialty is narration.
Yeah.
We have a stellar post production team that all they do is sound engineering, audiobook post production.
Yeah.
That is their one focus. And then for everything else, there's me. I guess I'm a facilitation specialist, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's the narrator's uh, responsibility to educate the author on the audiobook production process.
Hmm.
I hear all the time, narrators get overwhelmed and sort of frazzled when they are asked questions about like distribution and, going wide versus being exclusive to Audible, the pros and cons of that, and promotional options and things like that. And I mean, that's understandable because that's outside of your realm of, that's outside of your
Yeah. Yeah.
specialty.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we've just kind of become the place where you can say, well, I don't know the answer to that, but I know someone who does. And
Mm.
uh, that person is usually me. And if I don't know the answer to it, then I probably know someone who does as well. Um, but yeah, we've just sort of become the hub where narrators can bring me a client, drop them off with me, and then get back in the booth, and I take over from there
Yeah.
as project manager, um, educating the author, guiding them through the process,
Yeah.
exploring all of their options and everything like that with them. So, um, to answer your question directly, the number one thing that narrators can do, whether they are in the Talent Legion or not, is bring me their authors.
Yeah.
Bring us clients. For whatever reason, authors usually don't like hearing from me as the initial point of contact as far
Mm.
as when I was trying to cold call authors and do author outreach on behalf of the Empire. I was knocking at doors and then promptly getting them slammed in my face.
Mm.
Um, I don't exactly know why that is. I don't think I'm scary, but maybe it's because, when you say, "Hi, I'm with such and such company," and, there happens to be the word empire in the name of that company, it might be a little intimidating.
Mm.
I do know there are a lot of scams going around, targeting authors and that sort of thing. The audiobook industry certainly isn't immune to that sort of thing. So I can understand the initial wariness, but I found that when the narrator was making the initial contact,
Yeah.
uh, the authors tended to lower their guard more easily for the narrator. Maybe it's because they know that a narrator is essential to having an audiobook, and they don't necessarily know what a producer is or does, or something like that.
Yeah.
So whenever the narrator is the one recommending that the project be produced through the empire, uh, the author is a lot more willing to listen and
Mm.
take them up on that recommendation. So that's where the narrators doing the cold calling came from as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer, and I think a lot of our listeners should take that on board and find that really helpful. For narrators looking at applying to be a part of the Empire's roster, I know that there is an application process that opens and closes. Could you tell us a little bit more about what this process entails?
Yeah. So first of all, the reason that it's not just open all of the
Mm.
time is sort of twofold, I guess. One, I want to keep our number of narrators relatively small.
Mm.
I know, you know, other companies have thousands of narrators sometimes, but for as long as we can anyway, I would like to keep that small businessy feel, the
Oh
intimacy
yeah.
that comes with having a tight knit group of
Mhm.
people. I know all of our narrators by name. I hope that that translates into them feeling like they know me and can approach me with a project or a question or anything like that. And whenever we induct new talent into the talent legion, I like to set up a Zoom call with the new batch of narrators or a phone call here and there, something like that, just to really make that personal connection right from the outset
Yeah.
and get to know them on a personal level, and so they can get to know me, um, and that sort of thing. So that's the primary reason for it, and the other is I want it to feel special. I
Yeah.
want the people in the talent legion to feel like they're part of something special. And if it's just, an all you can eat buffet all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
revolving door, that sort of thing, then it just sort of loses a little bit of that. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Moving on to perhaps another vague question, which I do apologize in advance. What's a typical day in the life for you? Could you take us through like a typical working day, how you structure your day, that kind of thing?
Well, I work from home well before the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah.
So I get up, I have some coffee, feed the cat, and then I immediately sit down and start answering emails. And that email thread follows me, it's sewn throughout my day.
Mm.
Some days it feels like I'm just putting out little fires here and there. Other days, I actually, have time to complete a task in one sitting, which is notable for me. Um, usually I'll have meetings throughout the day, either with narrators about a particular project or potential clients.
Mm.
I have to give her a shout out. I just hired the world's most amazing assistant at the beginning of this year. Her name is Ashley Rose Kaplan. She has been bestowed the title of Hand of the Empress because
Oh,
she is my
fantastic.
right hand. Yeah, she's my
Yeah.
right hand. She keeps me together. I keep trying to, she actually lives in England, and I keep trying to get her to move back to the States and like maybe in with me and just follow me around and remind me, what did I come into this room for? Where am I supposed to be right now?
Yeah.
She has made, I mean, she's only been with me for like a month, maybe 6 weeks now, and it's just
Mhm.
made the biggest difference. Not only in my productivity, but like my mental health, I feel
Yeah.
like, because it's just, there's a peace of mind that comes with knowing that someone's got your back. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
mean,
Oh
we've
yeah.
got an excellent team, but they are usually in a certain department within the empire, and that's their department, and they, come to me if they need something, or vice versa. But Ashley, or Cappy as I call her, is with me all the time.
Yeah.
She's my backup brain, so that's really nice. She tells me, yeah, where and when to be, and I go there and I do the things. And
Yeah.
then she normally, says, okay, go drink some water, go stretch, go put on some Taylor Swift and dance around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because she knows that I get all of this pent up energy when I'm chained to the desk for so long. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's meetings and emails.
Going to ask, with working from home, and especially, if you're having to be by your emails, or at your desk for long periods of time. I know that I'm speaking to narrators and other folks in our industry who also, of course, work from home the majority of the time. It can often feel like you sort of never leave work, because you work where you live, and you're kind of always on call, as it were, which can sometimes be, to say it bluntly, detrimental to mental health, and your own sort of willingness to go on with a smiling face, as it were. I just kind of wondered, like, have you any sort of advice on how to, kind of not be, overwhelmed all of the time, as it can often be?
Oh, I don't know if I'm the one to be giving advice on that. It is something I am very well aware of, and something I battle daily.
Yeah.
I feel like I've made some strides maybe in the last several months, as far as taking nights and weekends off and
Yeah.
not being on call 24/7. Turning the do not disturb button on my Mac on, and just leaving it on all the time has been a game changer, because
Mm.
used to, whenever, at any time of day, no matter where I was, because my desk is in the middle of my living room. And I have an open floor plan, so my living room bleeds into my kitchen. So basically, my front room, is where my desk is, and then
Yeah.
I've got a bedroom in the back. But um, I can hear that ping when an email comes in anywhere in the house.
Mm.
And I'm the kind of person, I can't have a notification that's unread. It's like a
Yeah.
compulsory thing with me. If I hear it, I have to check it. And if I check it, then, it's going to be on my brain, and I may as well just take care of it now and get it over with. And then I'm working at 9 o'clock at night. And why am I
Yeah.
doing that?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so turning that off, where I can't hear the emails as they come in, has really helped. I can actually sit down and watch TV now, or read, or
Yeah.
do something like that without being interrupted all the time. Um, and going back to Cappy, my assistant, she also kind of inadvertently became my accountability person,
Yeah.
accountability partner. Like I was saying, she'll tell me, okay, get up, go stretch, go do something that's not work for a few minutes. You've got an
Yeah.
hour before your next meeting. And she has this personality, which just, the exact type of person I need in my life, where she'll be rather forceful with me about it. Like,
Yeah.
it's 6 a.m. Why are you answering emails? So I have actually thought, oh wait, I shouldn't answer this right now, because she'll see that I answered it at 6 a.m. and she'll get mad with me. So I better I better not. It's really
Yeah.
effective. Um,
Yeah.
but just, I think it's like anything, it's what you get used to. So I
Mm.
guess my advice would be, force yourself into healthy habits until they actually become habitual and second nature.
Yeah.
Accountability people are great if you have one. If not, make a promise to yourself, because that
Mm.
has worked for me in the past. I have felt guilty on weekends for checking email, because I promised myself that I wasn't going to,
Mm.
do that. And here I am doing it. And if you can't keep a promise to yourself,
Yeah.
then, what's your word even worth to anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the best I can do right now, I guess.
I think that's fantastic advice and something I should certainly follow. I know exactly what you mean as well about not being able to leave a notification unread. That is the bane of my existence. I was just a gathering for a family member's birthday a couple of days ago, and this guy was using his phone in front of me, and I just saw he had 23,000 unopened emails. I nearly fell to the floor. It was but I just couldn't cope. I was restraining myself from grabbing and opening every single one.
No, I have, let's see, right now I have 139 messages across all of my inboxes, and I have like 10 inboxes. Um,
Wow.
but that bothers me that I have that
Yeah.
many. Back in August, it was over 300, and then I was away out of state for a weekend, and I took my
Mm.
laptop with me, and while I had some downtime, I just like started mass deleting things and got
Yeah.
it down to like 150. So it's been hovering around there. But my goal for the end of every week is to try to get it down to like 125
Yeah.
or something like that. And then just every week try to get it a little lower.
Yeah.
Of course, every time that we open the narrator application form on the website, that skyrockets. So
Yeah.
now I've learned to like really, really trim that number down before we open that, because I know it's just going to be so bloated after that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, that bothers me that I still have that many.
It's nice. Hey, it's nice to be in demand. It's nice that people are wanting
That's
it.
true.
Yeah. I read that although you work obviously professionally in the industry, you are and always will be a listener first. I just wondered, what is it about audiobooks as a medium that you love so much?
Yeah. So as a child, I was an avid reader.
Mm.
Harry Potter was my childhood. Um, and then as I, got into high school, I actually had a social life back then, got kind of busy, and then college and grad school. And I got so busy with real world things and school things that I didn't have time to read anymore. And I guess at
Mm.
some point in grad school, I just really started to long for those days when I had time to do something that I loved. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just got kind of nostalgic and also mournful because I really thought that those days were gone,
Mm.
that reading was a luxury reserved for, the innocence of childhood when you didn't have anything to worry about and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And then I discovered audiobooks. And it was just this complete game changer for me because it was a way to fit reading back into my life so much more conveniently. And I think that's probably the story with a lot of people, a lot of
Mm.
listeners. They are drawn to audiobooks primarily out of convenience,
Mm.
because you can listen while you're commuting, or running, exercising, cleaning the house, waiting, in line to pick your kid up from school, or on an airplane. I just listened on an airplane. I flew for the first time last month, and that was my way of overcoming my, nerves.
Yeah.
Um, I used to listen as I fell asleep sometimes, but then I actually started falling asleep on the books, and it was really annoying to have to
Yeah. Yeah.
rewind
Yeah.
every morning. Um, but yeah, that's how I got into audiobooks. I'm really grateful to the audiobook format for bringing my love of reading back into my life in such a handy way. And actually, so when I was in grad school, I actually did my thesis on audiobooks,
Oh, nice.
specifically on comparing reading to listening, and the different areas of the brain that are stimulated by each of those, and more specifically on the rate of information retention
Yeah.
when you're reading versus when you're listening. And what I found was all the studies say that it's not reading or listening, it's reading and listening that maximize the rate of retention. So
Yeah.
um, I feel like I don't maybe I don't want to be the person that blames social media for everything, but I feel like there's a tendency to sort of pit those two things against each other,
Mm. Oh, yeah.
and sort of make them enemies and make people feel like they have to choose and, shame somebody for their
Mhm.
choice or that kind of thing, when really reading and listening are natural allies. Not only is there room for both of them, they work better together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's actual scientific evidence to back that up. Um, so yeah, that was really a fun discovery.
Yeah, I'm so pleased you said that as well, because it is frustrating sometimes when you see that, oh, it's not real reading if you're listening to an audiobook, or you can either be one or the other, and find it's just not necessary. You can enjoy a book when you read, and you can enjoy an audiobook listening, and it's just enjoyable. And yeah, absolutely. Has working in this industry changed how you look at and listen to stories?
Unfortunately, yes. And it has generalized to the point where it has changed the way I hear. So my ear has become so accustomed to being used to critique speech and
Mm,
voices and hear the emotion and what's being said and that sort of thing. Um, I was watching Star Trek with a friend the other night, Deep Space Nine. We're
nice.
making our way through that. And, in that show, a lot of the characters wear prosthetics, on their
Hmm.
face and masks and that sort of thing. So you can't really see the actor underneath. But I have on several occasions been able to accurately identify the actor just from the voice. So, Wally Shawn plays the Grand Nagus, and that's probably an easy example because he has a very distinctive voice. He was
Yeah,
what was his name? Vicini in The Princess Bride.
yeah,
But yeah, he's the one that comes to mind. So yeah,
yeah.
it's doing what I do has definitely impacted my life in a lot of ways that I wouldn't have, thought.
Yeah, because you're so attuned and then just naturally listening out for the
Yeah.
slightest. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
what's a question that you wished you were asked more?
Um, I I I love talking about my family and my home. I love where I live.
Mm,
I live beside family. Actually, all up and down the road that I live on, my dad's family lives here, extended family and everything. So,
yeah,
I grew up really close to them, and I don't get asked about, my personal life a lot,
yeah,
which I mean, I guess is somewhat understandable, but um, I'm really proud of where I'm from and that sort of thing.
yeah,
So I like being asked about. Oh, and my cats, of course.
yeah.
They're my kids. I love talking about them. I think a lot of the people in my circle know about my love for Elvis.
Yeah,
That's where I flew to last month. I went to his home in Graceland in Memphis. Um, so yeah, just I mean, audiobooks are my world professionally, but they are
yeah,
only. I mean, granted, they are a large part of my world personally as well.
yeah.
But there are other aaspects to my personal life.
So how was Memphis then? You because there's so much that I mean, your first time on a plane, and then getting it to go and to be there. I mean, how was that?
Oh my gosh, it was beyond amazing. It was so perfect. Like I was scared before I went because not like scared to fly or anything, but I was scared that I was getting too excited for it. And I'm someone who likes to keep, I
Yeah,
try to be a realist, keep my expectations pretty level. But I was worried that I was just gonna make it out to be, something that was unachievable, I guess.
yeah.
But it was so much better than I ever could have. I got to meet his daughter, Lisa Marie, like 4 days before she died all of a sudden.
No
So
way.
yeah, yeah. And well, I tripped in the middle of the living room of Graceland and almost busted my face on a marble column. But I'm choosing to remember that in a haha,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that almost happened kind of
yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah.
Disaster averted. And yeah, it was amazing. I had my birthday there. Celebrated my
Fantastic.
birthday 2 days before I celebrated Elvis's birthday there because our birthdays, are 2 days apart.
Mm,
And yeah, it was amazing. The trip of a lifetime, honestly, until the next one, I guess.
oh,
But it
fantastic.
definitely set the bar. Yeah, it set the bar
Yeah.
really high.
Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna have to think of something big to beat that, because that's pretty cool.
Well, we're talking about going to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando next. So
Nice. Oh, that's a good one.
yeah,
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 that's a good
I'm
one.
excited for that.
There's a city near where I live, which it wasn't used as the filming. They didn't film Harry Potter there, but it was the one of the influences of Diagon Alley, which is the Shambles in York, and it's all kind of just looks like Diagon Alley, and I always get excited whenever going around there.
Yeah, that's neat. Oh wow.
So as we bring this episode to a close, I'd just love to end by simply asking if you have any upcoming projects that you're excited about that we can look forward to.
Yeah. Oh, we have the next installment in the Bubbles in Space series from SC Jensen. It's narrated by Jennifer Blom. I love that series. We've been producing it for I think a couple of years now, or maybe almost 2 years now. We're on the fourth installment.
Yeah.
Um, and it's about a cyborg. She's a cyborg PI with pink hair. Her name is Bubbles Marlowe, and I think she's the best. So that's a really fun series, and I like cyberpunk too. So
Yeah, yeah.
sci-fi and fantasy are my jam. We also have the third book in the Kat McKenzie series coming up, narrated by Ali Shea. I think you've interviewed her.
I have. I've narrated with her as well. Yeah, I know Ali very well. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, very
yeah.
cool. And then of course we produce a lot for ACF Bookends, a lot of cozy mysteries, and I just love cozies. I mean, who doesn't really?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And we just wrapped up post-production on The Flight of the Kingfisher, which is the first in the Carbon Chronicles series from author Chloe Garner. That was done with narrator Wesley Scott. It was our first time working with Wesley. I've known Wes for a while,
Hmm.
but it was the first time we got to actually work together. So that was really exciting. And yeah, so I'm naming like almost all sci-fi fantasy, but we do a lot of those two genres. So that's appropriate, I guess. And we work a lot with narrator Laura Horowitz. So we've got, I think she's recording Witch Upon right now, which is a very cool fantasy series from Jane Bicker.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could go on and on, really, but I mean, I love every book that we do.
Absolutely, no, that's fantastic, and it's certainly those titles are going to be. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to delving into those titles, as I'm sure that our listeners are also. Yeah, that brings us just about to a close for this episode of the Audiobook Club. All of the links to Audiobook Empire and the mentioned events, etc., will be linked in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and of course, another huge thank you to you, Jess, for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me on. Let me ramble.
Frustrated by the royalty rates for your audiobook? Annoyed that when the digital distributors say 70% royalties, they actually mean 70% of 50% or 80% of 70%, neither of which is an actual 70%. Wishing there was a way to cut out the middleman? Yet, you want your audiobook listeners to have a smooth and positive experience, and a direct download sale from your website won't deliver that. We at Pro Audio Voices hear you. Out of our commitment to our author clients, we've created Amplify, a program that provides an actual 65% of the sales price that you set, that gives you access to your customers' names and emails so you can reconnect with them, and keeps you in the driver's seat. Check it out at proaudiovoices.com. You'll find Amplify in the marketing menu.